our daily lives give us the opportunity to strengthen the foundation of functioning with higher consciousness, right? And, higher consciousness is where we get to through the method. And what I mean by higher consciousness is something very specific. You'll hear a lot of people use the term higher consciousness without much explanation for it. But what I mean when I use the term higher consciousness is that you're relating to what happens in daily life from a broader perspective, from a higher perspective. So, and I'm pretty sure I shared this metaphor with you. The higher consciousness, your level of consciousness can be like if you're looking at ground level, you can see so far, but if you go up a little bit higher, you have a bigger perspective. If you go up a little higher, you have a wider perspective. The higher you go, the bigger your perspective is. And so what we practice doing is relating to life from a cosmic perspective. And from a cosmic perspective, that means there's never anything going wrong. Right? From a cosmic perspective, everything is functioning according to a set body of law and order, right? If I drop something, gravity takes it down. If I go up at a certain height in the atmosphere, the gravity's gone and I can start floating up. You plant a seed, there are certain steps that go on in the formation process. You don't see a seed, bearing fruit. The seed first has to sprout, and then there's a stem, and then there's leaves, and then there's a bud, and then there's a flower. So there's an order to life. The same order that works in a garden works in your life. And every single thing that takes place in your life is the manifestation of an organic process. Everything that happens in your life, nothing just happens. Everything takes place by degrees. If we're very perceptive, we can see what's coming. We can see the pattern. We can see the trend. And if we understand the laws, like the law of cycles, for example. So right now, this time of year, while there's so much stuff going on, so much change, so many things happening that nobody expected and that did not happen last year at this time, I bet you can identify some things that are happening right about now that did happen similarly to last time. You'll see, for example, you might find someone that you were in a relationship with this time of year last year. You hadn't seen them in 6-9 months, and here they are back again right at this time of year. Everything takes place in cycles. Everything takes place in a sequence, in an order. Everything functions, right? Whatever is done creates something, causes something. Nothing just happens. If I drop a glass on the ground, right, there's a function. Something happens. The glass splatters. There's splattering everywhere. Every thought you think functions. Everything you say functions. Everything you do, right? Everything you feel has a function. It does something. And to be more conscious is to be aware of what it is you're doing. What are my thoughts manifesting? Even though I might think of something, people think about getting sick, right? Or they think about not being able, they're not getting paychecks. And they think about, well, what's going to happen if we don't get a paycheck? That's a thought. As soon as you have that thought, what's going to happen if I don't get a paycheck? You've just got that thought in mind. You just thought about not having a paycheck. That thought functions. That thought has an effect on your body. It has an effect on your emotions, and it has an effect on your environment. It has an effect on your circumstances. It has an effect on your future. Every single thing you say, think, feel, and do, every single thing we say, think, feel, and do functions. It does something. And so awakening to higher consciousness means, on one aspect of it, means that we are aware of how we are functioning. You don't just say stuff. You know how what you're saying affects your subconscious, affects other people, affects your relationships, affects your destiny. You don't just think stuff. You're very discriminating in what you think. You're very discriminating in the emotions that you get into. You're trying to go to work on your computer and there's a problem on the computer. What's the emotional reaction you have, right? Most people, well, they'll just react, but not you. You're functioning from higher consciousness. You're like, well, if I get really emotional about this, I lose my energy, I scramble my thinking, I generate chaos in my environment, right? And I make it more difficult for me to handle obstacles, setbacks, right? Because I have this automatic reaction pattern and I'm not in control of it. So we discriminate. We say, well, you know what? I'm going to maintain my peace and poise. Because when I'm centered and calm, right, and I just deal with whatever comes up in a centered, calm, orderly, sequential, methodical way without getting emotional about it, it all works out. And I don't waste all this energy and go into all this pain and all these negative impacts of an emotional reaction to it. So one aspect of higher consciousness is simply to pay attention to how you function. And my teacher used to train us to practice looking at the functioning in our environment, right? So if I look at a jacket, okay, the jacket has a function, right? It has a purpose. It has a function. It functions to keep me warm. If I have an umbrella, it has a function, right? Everything in your environment has a function. But how much time do you spend each day noticing, becoming conscious of the function of it, right? If I walk my dog on a leash, the leash has a function. Everything has a function. Everything you think has a function. You're always functioning. You are the creator of your destiny. You are the creator of what happens. And so what you want to do is you want to become conscious of how you're functioning instead of automatically reacting to what happens and then wondering why stuff happens, which is where most people are at. They don't really recognize the function of their thinking. You can use your thoughts to get any information you want in life. If there's something you want to know, just start thinking about it. Start thinking about how you can find a way to get that knowledge. And you'll find ideas coming to you to lead you to the next step. You have complete control of your destiny that way. But if your thoughts are out of control, they're still functioning, but you're not directing the function. And now it seems like life is just haphazard. So what it means to have mastery is that you have mastery of your creative forces, your thoughts, your emotions, even your desires. You can cultivate a desire for just about anything. You know, why is it that certain children go through life experiences that cultivate a desire for cruelty, right? Why is it some children go through certain examples and they are so sensitive that the last thing in the world they'd want is to be cruel to an innocent animal? They couldn't even bear to do it. What is the difference between those two? It's the experiences they have function in a certain way. When we're relating to children, we're dealing with a creative process. In my book, Parenting with Love, Without Anger or Stress, it shows how to approach parenting from a conscious, creative aspect. Parenting is a creative process. You're literally creating a personality. You're creating a set of values. You're creating proclivities in a child. You're either feeding the child sensitivity to order, or you're dulling the child sensitive to order, meaning the child's going to be more prone toward being chaotic. It's all a conscious creative process. So higher consciousness means, on the one hand, you're aware of how you're functioning. Another aspect to higher consciousness is you're aware of the broader context in which you're functioning. So what is the broader context? The broader context is you lose something or you lose someone. Well, if you're looking at it from a standpoint of higher consciousness, you go like, okay, well, this sets the stage for something more magnificent to come into my life. Just like when you lose your life, it sets the stage for a higher level of experience at the end of that life. You're going to have a higher level of experience. If you function consciously, you can direct that process as well. So we remember that everything that's taking place is in a field of perfection. This is higher consciousness. We call this fifth dimensional awareness. Everything that takes place is everything that happens is perfect. Well, you say, well, Bob, someone gets sick, they end up in the hospital. How is that perfect? There could be a lot of ways that that's perfect. Maybe they learn a lesson and they go back and they review their life and they realize, well, this is what I did that led me to get sick. And you say, yeah, but if they die, what good is that? Well, what level of consciousness are you operating under? Do you relate to this life as your only life? Do you relate to yourself as a mortal human being? That's a physical level of consciousness. That's identified in Kabbalah with the world of Asiya, the world of making. The lowest level of consciousness is relating to yourself as mortal. If you relate to life, and well, I only have this one life to live, and by the time you're 60, you got nothing to live for, because there's no goals, no long-term goals. There's nothing you can accomplish anymore. You're just waiting around to die. But if you relate to life as you really are, which is an immortal being who comes in and out of lifetimes in order to continue its internal evolutionary process, then you realize, oh, you can be in your 80s and be working on becoming a better painter. You say, well, am I going to be a master in this lifetime? Who cares? You're not identified with this lifetime. You're in an eternal process of growing and evolving consciousness and mastery. And each time you come back with what you left off with. So you wake up sooner and you have a higher level of skills. This is why a Mozart can be, at 6 years old, be a master, a composer, and a master pianist. So the two levels of higher consciousness, and it's very simple to get there. The two levels of higher consciousness is being aware of how you function and being aware of the larger field of perfection in which you function, right? Because there's nothing that ever goes wrong. All there are is opportunities and lessons for making shifts to experience more fulfillment in life. So when you look at those two levels, you're functioning in a broad field of perfection, and you're aware of how you're functioning each and every second, right? That's a higher level of consciousness. Here's how you get there. It's the simplest thing in the world. You get there by paying attention. Just pay attention, and the whole thing opens up. If you just pay attention to what you're thinking, when you're thinking, how your thinking is affecting you, you'll see how your thinking is affecting you. You'll wake up. You'll become conscious. And if you keep noticing what happens and the patterns of what happens, you'll start noticing that every loss is a precedent for a greater gain. You'll see that your potential for fulfillment is limited only by the beliefs you hold. You'll see that. You won't have to theorize about it or believe about it. You'll see and you'll know that you are an unlimited being with unlimited potential for joy, and that's the whole purpose of your life, is to be experiencing more and more joy, and to see what you are doing, how you are functioning that prevents you from experiencing joy, so you can shift and change. The method is a shortcut for all this, because what the method does is it liberates us from those pre-programmed, those childhood programmed action and reaction patterns, beliefs, like the belief that you have to work hard to make a living, or the belief that you have to earn a living, or the belief that you have to sacrifice what you want to do in order to do what you have to do, or the belief that to be a good person, you have to go out of your way for other people. The belief that you only live one lifetime, right? All of these pre-programmed patterns of belief and emotion, we free ourselves from using the method. And that allows you to open your eyes and see from a wider vantage point. And you start to see and realize that there's no limit to your abundance now. You don't have to manifest abundance. You don't have to manifest more money. There's no power in money. What you want to be is in an abundant state of consciousness, where you are aware of the reality that there's no lack whatsoever, that you're always going to be perfectly supported and provided for. Imagine how your life would feel if you were free of the fear of lack and scarcity. So the two ways we grow in consciousness, very simple. You pay attention and you use the method anytime you're feeling the slightest bit of unhappiness or distrust or betrayal or anger or a feeling of being treated unfairly, feeling inadequate, any of those, what we call negative states, those painful, uncomfortable, emotional states that we go into. You use the method over and over again until you're back into peace and harmony. And the more you live in that peaceful, harmonious place that we get to from the method, the more you find, by paying attention, that it works. You discover that joy works, inner peace works, living in a mode in which you can be loving and kind and happy, a mode of living. The only thing that takes you out of being loving and kind and happy is the mode at which you live. You might get really forceful or aggressive or grim or determined or intense, right? Or nervous and rushing and hurrying. And that takes all the joy out of life. And it doesn't work because it generates chaos into your environment, into your body, into your mind. So do the method, get into joy, then pay attention to stay in joy. And you'll start noticing miracles popping up in your life. And you realize, wow, joy works. Joy works, and life is good. The universe is good. It's a good place. It doesn't matter where you end up. You're going to end up in the universe, and the universe is 100% good. You never have anything to worry about. You'll discover that by using the method and paying attention. And then we build that as a foundation of strength. Daily life gives you the ability to see what you need to work on, right? So you can get stronger in these states of higher consciousness. Pay attention, use the method. Pay attention, use the method. Pay attention, use the method. Make that strong, make that habitual, make that your way of living. Pay attention, use the method. Pay attention so you can live in joy. So you find your own balanced, rhythmic way of living each day. No rush, no hurry, no worry, nothing to get concerned about, because that's all made up and imaginary when you live in a perfect universe. And then you find that your perception of the universe is your projection of the universe. In other words, the universe becomes what you expect it to be when you expect it to be love, when you expect it to be goodness, when you expect it to be infinite support. Okay, so that was actually a Kabbalah lesson that I shared with you. Does anybody have something they want to share, something they would like to, maybe a good thing, a miracle that happened in your life, maybe a challenge from Wags? I had great success today. I took, and I can't read the rest of that. So Wags is telling us you had great success today. What happened, Wags?
It says
okay.
This is Lisa. She says, I took a pause to be aware that I was allowing myself to be irritated by my spouse. I sat down for a minute, processed the method, and interestingly, he was getting anxious trying to figure out what he did wrong. I explained it was me, and I needed to process through my own feelings, and it wasn't about him, it was about me, and understanding why I was allowing myself to get irritated.
It's amazing how the method impacts other people. A story I used to share, because it was one of the first people I taught the method to. Maybe some of you heard it. But she was a woman who was in a very unhappy marriage, very unhappy relationship. Her husband was very depressed, so depressed that he wouldn't look at her, he wouldn't touch her. They hadn't had sex for 5 years. And she was going to divorce him, but she wanted to wait until he got a job, because she really feared that if she left him before he had a job, he would commit suicide, and he was suicidal. So we did the method on what was going on, because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And what we found out doing the method was, and she's a very, very beautiful woman, very gifted artist, but her mother had been a model. And her mother was such a perfectionist when it came to appearance, and so critical, that she would constantly tell her daughter, you're too fat, you're too ugly, you're gonna wear that. Like, she was so harsh on her appearance that deep down inside, she was carrying this feeling that she didn't deserve love. And now here she finds herself in a relationship that's pretty much loveless, that this guy doesn't even want to look at her. And she recognized, as we did the method, wow, that's how my mother used to get when she would get angry at me. She wouldn't look at me. That's how she sort of expressed her disdain. She wouldn't look at me. So we did the method until she got to realize that the issue was she was feeling unworthy of love. She carried that pattern. And, you know, her mother didn't look at her, but her mother did not instill the pattern of I am not worthy of love. That was how she responded to her mother's treatment. And it's totally understandable, because it was a learned pattern. But it was something, when you're feeling unworthy of love, that's something you're doing to you. Doesn't matter what's going on around you, that just triggered off the pattern you've been carrying. So when she did the method on that pattern, I don't remember if it was the first time she did it or the second or the third time she did it, but it happened within like 1 week. So I worked with her several times that week. Her husband comes home from work, looks at her, cries, makes love to her, and he was the one who changed externally as she went through the internal change. I've seen this in my own life, in loving relationships. I've seen it so frequently when it comes to money. Anytime my finances would go down, I would just use the method to live in abundance, and the money would just come right back and come back at a higher level, right? Anytime I felt threatened at all by any kind of a loss, I would use the method to get free and clear and centered and balanced. And I didn't lose anything, but I was actually picked up to a higher level. And higher level conscious people would start coming into my life. You know, I feel that the people that I work with are very conscious. You know, most of you, if not all of you, most of you, and I'm talking not just to you, but to all the people I work with around the world, most of you have been on a spiritual path, a path of personal development, a path of introspection and self-understanding for many years. And when I run into people, they say, well, I don't have anybody to talk to. There's you know, all of my friends, they're all unconscious, and my family's unconscious. But look at all the conscious people I have in my life. I have hundreds of people who are conscious on the path, who are getting this message. And we're talking at such a deep level, at such a high level. So as you raise your level of consciousness in daily living, not just understanding these concepts metaphysically, but practice this in daily living, you'll start finding yourself in social milieus of people who are inspiring and advanced and powerful and positive, and it just all takes off from there. So what you noticed, Wags, was that making an internal change had an external change, because what's going on inside of you is being reflected in your outer world. It's a mirror. The outer world is nothing but a mirror. I remember once being in a meeting and I felt like I was being discounted, like people weren't really respecting my perspectives on anything. So instead of like saying, hey, I don't like the way you're treating me, I went inside and I focused on the step of the method where you experience infinite self-value. And I just focused on that for a couple of minutes. And all of a sudden, everybody was starting to ask me questions and responding to me. And somebody even apologized for discounting something I said earlier. I did not make the slightest effort to change them, but they all changed in reflection to the inner change I went through. I can't tell you how powerful this is. The method can lead to your total liberation and your total enlightenment, where you can actually experience what it means to be in heaven while you're living on this earth plane. You will experience the kingdom of heaven on earth. It can take you that far if you'll work it, if you'll use it at 3 o'clock in the morning when you wake up with anxiety, right? If you'll use it when you get frustrated with your spouse, if you'll use it if for some reason you're feeling unhappy or insecure or anxious or unworthy, if you'll use it and use it and use it until you get internally free. And then every time that something comes back, use it again, and pay attention. And you'll start to notice that you actually do live in this universe where whatever you want is coming. Your heart's, the universe is all set up to fulfill your heart's deepest desire. But it's only your nervousness and fear in between the desire and the fulfillment that makes it seem so hard. But that's just an internal pattern that you release with the method. But you got to use the method to benefit from it. Thank you, Wax. Anybody else have a question or a comment they'd like to share? No? You want to keep your thoughts to yourself?
You guys can go ahead and unmute yourselves.
Why don't you share what you're thinking about? You must be thinking about something.
So, hi, this is Sue. Can you hear me?
Bob.
Yes.
Hi, just might seem silly, but with all this virus stuff, I have a 21-year-old boy and a 16-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm divorced, so they switch off every day. They've decided, and they sleep at dad's one night and mine. And he is not taking any of this seriously. He's like shopping around for gyms that are still open, and it's causing me stress because I can't, I feel like it's a safe environment here at my house and my kids are being smart, but he's injecting this like germ field that I can't do anything about.
Right.
And
okay, so let's look at it. It's not silly at all. It's not silly at all. And what does that tell you about your attitude toward yourself when you would even preface something like that and say, well, this is probably silly? Like, where did you learn to relate to your perspective in a demeaning way like that. You know,
Yeah,
somebody,
this is a long-standing childhood thing.
somebody must have made you feel afraid to express who you truly are because it wasn't an emotionally safe environment, right? And that's probably something that you've been dealing with for a long time. The method 100% solves that problem if you use it on that feeling of looking down, feeling like you're being looked down upon or looking down upon yourself. So let's start with language, which Lisa is probably tired of me talking about already, but it's the easiest place to start and one of the most important places to start. So if everybody pays attention to how Sue framed the problem, you can gain a tremendous amount of wisdom. So the way that, I don't remember it verbatim, but basically the way the problem was framed is my son is being slipshod when it comes to dealing with germs, and his behavior is stressing me out. Okay? So that's what we call a misuse of language. Because what that's doing is that's language that comes from the unconscious programming that how we react internally is at the mercy of what goes on externally. Because your son is not stressing you out. Now, you might be getting stressed out in response to his behavior. If you say it in that way, now at least you're pointing your attention toward the cause of the problem. Okay? Because anyone who can make you react is in control of you. Any situation that can make you react is in control of you. So if you're reacting to your son's behavior, you're giving him the power. That behavior he's engaging in, you are empowering by relating to that behavior as being the power that can stress you out or being something that you have to change to be safe. Okay? So what we do is we use language, more effectively. We say, okay, I'm getting stressed out in response to this, right? So then the next step is, okay, so what do I want to accomplish? Well, I want to accomplish a germ-free environment. Okay, well, how do I accomplish that? What's the step-by-step process for accomplishing that? Well, the first step we understand is that what's going on in your environment is a reflection of your state of consciousness. What am I aware of? Right? What am I aware of that's stressing me out? So instead of focusing on what he's doing to stress you out, you're going to focus on what you're doing, how you're getting stressed out in response to it, what you're thinking and feeling in response to it. That's where the problem begins, because you're going into a place of internal pain in response to what he's doing. How you react to a situation is what you are doing to yourself about the situation. So the first step is to stop giving your power to the problem. And the way you do that is you relate to the problem as if it's the solution. What does that mean? That means that if he was perfectly behaved, not doing anything threatening to you whatsoever, how would you feel? How would you feel inside if this threat did not exist? If he was not behaving in a problematic way at all, how would you feel? And that's probably how you want to feel, isn't it, Sue?
Yeah, just to clarify, because I think it adds a thing. It's my ex-husband who's the problem, not my kids.
Well, it's always the ex.
Yeah, and so it's everything you're saying I'm relating to. Just to clarify, it's not like it's a kid coming to my house. It's someone I don't see or talk to, but my kids go back and forth.
Right. So you're holding your husband responsible for the fact that your child could be carrying germs because your ex-husband is not being responsible.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the concern is the children are being exposed to an irresponsible adult.
Exactly. But everything you've said applies. It's just I wanted to clarify before we went any further.
That was good. This helps. So what we're looking at is how you're reacting, how much power you're giving to your ex-husband. Right now, you're giving him the power to disturb you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you stop giving him the power to disturb you, he will lose the power to disturb you. Okay, so sounds irresponsible on your part. Say, okay, so I'm just supposed to be calm and feel safe and feel secure and know that the universe is going to handle everything and I don't have anything to worry about. You're saying, Bob, that should be my internal state. Yeah, that's the foundation. The foundation is that you feel completely safe, completely secure, because as soon as you start getting stressed out, you're in a toxic state, and you don't need a virus to attack you. You're already attacking yourself with stress. You're already lowering your immune system, right? And you're having a deleterious impact on your organism through the fearful reactions, because they emit poison into the bloodstream, right? They also block the thinking from being constructively creative. They become destructively creative. Thinking becomes destructively creative. So first step is you have to start using the method to free yourself from all anger and fear relative to your ex, so that you're completely at peace, calm, safe, secure. Then, from that place of inner peace, very often the problem just goes away by itself and there's no action that's needed. If further action is needed, once you get into that place of stable inner peace and poise, you're not worked up, you're not impatient, you're not afraid, you're not angry, you're really at peace and in confidence and in calm. You're in bliss, basically, from the method. And then you simply ask yourself, or you ask God, you ask your higher self, okay, is there anything more I need to do in this situation? Now, how do you know what to do? 3 keys. Simple, easy, and fun. If an action you take feels stressful, feels like a struggle, feels difficult, feels complicated, feels like an effort, that's the universe giving you a red light. But if you come up with an activity, with an idea of doing something that's pretty simple and easy, right? You try, maybe you come up with the idea, maybe I'll ask him to please do this for me, to please not go to the gym and expose the kids to these germs. Or maybe you've already found out that that's futile and there's no point in doing that, right? And you say, well, okay, should I keep the kids from him? Should I try to talk to the kids to try to explain to them how this could be dangerous to me or dangerous to others? Maybe I should have a conversation with the kids. Maybe that would feel okay, right? Maybe the kids would listen, maybe they wouldn't. But you give it a try, you're going to get some idea of an action you can take that's simple, easy, and fun. That's not a struggle, that's not hard. But it has to come from a place of inner peace, okay? So Janice just said, I love that, I got it, right? Now I just need what? What, Janice? What do you need now? Can you unmute Janice? What do you need?
Yeah, to work on the consistency of it. I mean, I've been able to do it around particular situations, but then something comes in and throws me off, and it's like, and there are times when I can do the method and I can get myself out of it, and it's like, oh, that's how it works. But then there are times when I just get so caught up in it that I just can't do it, and
you can't put yourself through it, or it doesn't seem to work when you put yourself through it?
I can't put myself through it. I immediately get distracted. I immediately get distracted in so many different ways, and to try and pull myself in, and concentrate on it.
Right, and the only thing I can tell you is that's where you build up the strength. That's the work. The only kind of work we have to do is internal, and you'll discover that as you wake up more and more to higher levels of consciousness. So if it's really hard for you to do the method, or if it's impossible for you to do the method, try to do it anyway. Just sit yourself down, go through it, take a walk, put yourself through it. No matter how much your mind wants to go to the problem, just keep wrestling. Each time you wrestle, you're going to get stronger than the adversary.
Well, it's funny because I I was doing it last night and I was distracted on something, but I kept, I would start to do it and I would get to one step, and then I would get distracted and go off on a tangent in my mind. And then I would pull myself back to it and go to the next step.
Right. That's exactly.
I kept doing it. It might have taken me an hour when it usually takes me only 10 minutes, but I did it.
I know. And that's what you do. You just go back to the next step. And also you can always do to help you, you do the temple meditation.
Well, I've been waiting for a copy of the temple meditation. So now that Kelly's back, I can get that.
Okay, yeah, somewhere I should be able to find that in writing.
Oh, that
But
would be awesome.
I can produce that. I can make that available to Lisa in writing, because that helps us sometimes prepare the ground for it. But I don't want to leave Sue's situation. So using language effectively means we recognize that I'm not getting stressed out because he's irresponsible. I'm getting stressed out because that's how I'm responding. And the next step is, sooner or later, you're going to get to the crossroads. We all get to the crossroads. Everybody I work with, we get to the crossroads. The crossroads is the place where you have to make the choice. Do I take the leap? Right? Like, let's say somebody contacts me and they say, Bob, business is just, has been doing great, but all of a sudden it just stopped, right? And I was doing the method and everything was cool, and it just stopped. And so now I feel like I really got to go out there. I got to get a job. I got to work hard. I got to make it happen. And I said, okay, well, now you're at the crossroads. Are you willing to count on peace and joy? Or are you going to count on trying to control the outer world? Are you going to work on getting into a peaceful state of peace and joy where you're aware of the images in your mind and you're not going into any negative mental thinking, no negative what ifs? Are you willing to concentrate on that when you're in the thick of it? Are you willing to concentrate on that? Are you willing to be all in? The universe only understands two numbers, 0 and 100%. You're not a little bit pregnant. You're either there or you're not there. And so you're going to get to the point again and again where it's going to be like, okay, even in this situation, the virus is out there, my ex is behaving irresponsibly, my children are being exposed, they're making me exposed, I feel this is a terrible situation. Are you willing to let that whole story go as if it doesn't exist? Get into a place of inner peace, of inner confidence. Nothing's going wrong. Remember, what you're learning here is how to live a problem-free life. All problems are mental. All problems are problems you conceive of. You got to conceive of it as a problem for it to exist as a problem. You hold on to that problem mentally and you're manifesting it. Am I willing to let go of the problem? But there may be an anger toward the ex that's so much you don't want to let go of the problem. You're looking for excuses to keep on fighting. Maybe you're just realizing that. That's an aha moment. Okay, now maybe you can let it go. If you're from higher consciousness, you can let stuff go. If you can't let it go, you do the method. I would suggest going in there, doing the method on all the anger, the dreck. This is like cleaning the toilet bowl of the psyche. Nobody wants to do it, right? But you go in there and you feel all of the anger and all of the pain and all of the resentment and all of the jealousy and all of the envy, right? Everything that all the negativity that is stirred up in relationship to this man, you let it all come up. You dwell in it, you feel it fully. You go back into childhood and remember how maybe you felt that way towards your father, maybe your mother felt that way towards your father, or somebody else, and you see if it can relate to childhood, while you feel it, and you feel it, and you feel it, and then something clicks and you say, you know what? I'm ready to stop this pain. Then you move into loving yourself. And then you move into the expansion of the space inside of you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if by the time you get to the place of letting go, if you're not completely free and at peace, where you don't have to think about him, you don't have to think about him doing this, because every time you think about him doing this, you're giving your creative power to him doing this, you're manifesting it, you're visualizing it, right? Every time, one of the big challenges, and Lisa and I have talked about this so many times between the two of us, when you get to a point where somebody will say, well, I got this problem with my ex, or I've got this problem with my parents, or I've got this problem with the environment. And I say, where is it happening? She says, it's happening in my environment. It's happening in my bank account. It's happening in my parents' house. It's happening in your mind. If you're aware of it, it's here. It's in your mind. You're thinking about it. And if you're thinking about it, you're envisioning it. And if you're envisioning it, you're using the power of creative visualization to create what you don't want. And when you finally recognize that from higher consciousness, you recognize, whoa, it's in my mind. When I recognized that, I had to write the book, Lighten Up. That's what my book, Lighten Up, is all about. It was this realization that every problem is in my mind. And now I live a problem-free life because I don't entertain problems in my mind, if I have a problematic thought, if I think of a problem, let's say my ex and the way she's relating to my kids, let's say I'm disturbed by that, I might touch upon it. But if you touch upon a hot stove, right, you take your finger right off. But if you touch upon a destructive thought, you might keep digging and digging and digging and digging and digging and digging and digging, and then feel, oh my God, I'm trapped in this horrible relationship. It's only entrapped in the mental story that you're not letting go because of the anger. So as you free yourself from the emotional pain of the situation, right, you'll stop envisioning the problem. From that point, if it's not all cleared up by then, and it very often is all cleared up by then, right, sometimes the other person completely turns around. If it's not all cleared up by then you simply ask, okay, is there something I need to do here? But you don't come from your own personal desires. We are being guided by higher ordering forces, higher beings. Angelic, divine, higher ordering forces are always trying to work through us to create order and beauty on the earth plane. You are loved and cared about at the deepest level. Forces want you to do well, but you have to open up to them and receive their guidance. In order to receive guidance from higher levels of being, you have to be in harmony with them. If you get angry and upset, you're in harmony with every angry person on the planet. And you're in harmony with all these angry entities that only want to create destruction, and because they're angry and upset, and they start working through you. But when you're centered, truly centered, in a loving space, now you're vibrating at the level of the masters, and they can guide you and teach you, and they will, because they want to help you. There are forces, there are angelic forces that want to help you, that want to support you, that are here for you all the time, will protect and guide you to live the most fulfilled destiny you can imagine. But you've got to be able to be in rapport with them. And when you're fearful, you can't be in rapport with beings of wisdom, because to be wise is to be happy. If you see somebody who's terribly unhappy, frustrated, negative, depressed, and they say, come, I'll teach you, you're not going to follow that person. But if you see somebody who's happy and joyful, you're going to say, well, that looks like wisdom to me. That's how I would love to live. And something inside of you is telling you, yes, that's the way I want to live. So watch what you think. Do the method to get into that peace and poise. And Sue, does that help you, and does that answer the question?
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's good. Thank you.
Okay. What I'd like to do now is let's go through the method, okay? And because it just builds up the strength. So the theme of today's talk, if I was teaching you Kabbalah, we'd be on the Kabbalah tree of life. We'd be looking at path 8 to 9, right? Which is the path of honoring the foundation, right? Honoring the foundation is like honoring the building of positive habits, right? So each time you do the method, you get stronger in doing the method. And the more emotional you are, the more pain you're going through, the harder it can be to do the method. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I'd wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, I don't want to have to do the method. It's so hard. I'm suffering so much. I can't use my will. It takes an act of will to start going through the method when I'm falling apart. But my will got stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And there may come a time, if I work with all of you long enough, where I'll be able to share with you the kind of things I'm sharing with Lisa right now, which are very advanced meditations that are built upon the method. But it wouldn't do you any good at this point because they're hard, they're difficult, they're complicated, but they're so powerful. They're so powerful. So let's do the method now, and we'll do it with a series of questions that are designed to bring up unpleasant feelings, okay? So let me just take a sip. I hope you're having as much fun as I'm having. So, first question. If you have any concern about world events, feel your feelings now. If you have any concern about world events, feel your feelings now. If there is any area of your life that you feel frustrated with or disappointed by, feel your feelings now. If there is any area of your life that you feel frustrated with or disappointed by, feel your feelings now. If you have any fear, worry, or discouragement about your future, feel your feelings now. If you have any fear, worry, or discouragement about your future, feel your feelings now. If you see yourself or another person as a victim, feel your feelings now. If you see yourself or another person as a victim, feel your feelings now. If you feel stuck, trapped, blocked, or oppressed, feel your feelings now. If you feel stuck, trapped, blocked, or oppressed to any degree, feel your feelings now. If you regard any aspect of yourself as imperfect, feel your feelings now. If you regard any aspect of yourself as imperfect, feel your feelings now. And finally, if you see your life as inferior to anyone else's life, feel your feelings now. If you feel your life is inferior to another's, feel your feelings now. Now just keep feeling your feelings. Notice what's coming up. Open. Notice the act of opening to your pain. Open to your pain. Open up to it. See if it reminds you of ways that you felt when you were a child. See if it reminds you of one of your parents or both your parents. See if it reminds you of how you felt when your parents weren't getting along or when one of your parents left. Feel your feelings now. Open up to them. And I want you to try to feel grateful to how you feel, because all of your feelings are offering guidance. And the more gratitude you feel for your feelings, the more feelings you're going to feel. And feelings come from higher levels of consciousness to guide you along perfect pathways. Feel your feelings now. Feel grateful. Feel love for whatever you feel, no matter how painful. Feel love and gratitude for how you feel. Take a nice deep breath and shift now into feeling love for yourself. Do the best you can now to go into your heart, get in touch with your feelings of love, and feel your love for you. Feel yourself loving yourself like you're your own perfect partner. Not thinking positive thoughts, not envisioning yourself anything. Feeling. Feel the energy of love going into you. Give yourself love. Feel that love flowing through your body, flowing through your soul. Feel that love as deep and as strong as you can. Breathe in that love. And even if you can't feel it, just make the effort. You're building a muscle. Feel the feeling of love for yourself now. We're getting through so much. We're accomplishing so much together right now. Now, I want you to imagine a space opening up inside of you like a bubble. And I just want you to feel that space expanding and getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it's as big as the whole universe, as big as infinity, as big as the limitless. Now step inside that space and feel filled with divine energy. Whatever you're feeling, feel it as divine energy. Feel this divine energy filling you up. This is the energy of perfection. This is the energy of God. Open up to the actual experience of feeling God energy. Feel it filling up this infinite space you created, going out into infinity, and now feel the whole universe is just filled with divine energy. Divine energy coming at you from every angle, from every dimension. All of it, everything, me, you, your body, your chair, it's all a manifestation of divine energy. Feel that. Rest in divine energy for a bit. Just feel the bliss of being in divine energy. Now we're going to shift into self-value. And I want you to give yourself the feeling of being infinitely valuable. That you are infinitely valuable. You can give yourself the feeling of being valued, demeaned, diminished, looked down upon, disregarded. You can give yourself all those feelings. Now you're going to exercise with the reverse. You're going to give yourself the feeling of being infinitely valuable to the world, infinitely valuable to the universe, infinitely valuable to God, infinitely valuable to yourself. Relate to yourself as so sacred, so precious, that you are of infinite value. Try to feel it. Feel how good it feels to feel infinitely valuable. This is the true key to every form of prosperity, to the beautiful relationships you want. You've got to feel infinitely valuable on your own, so strong that nothing can knock you out of it. It's not conditional. It's the way you are. Now, become aware of one or two things that you're naturally good at. Things that come easy to you. Maybe you're a good writer. Maybe you're a good reader. Maybe you're funny. Right? Maybe you're good at leadership. Maybe you're good at healing. Maybe you're empathetic. Maybe you're kind. Right? Maybe you're patient. Maybe you're forgiving. Maybe you're strong. Maybe you're disciplined. Think of one or two of your gifts and talents, and as you think of them, let yourself feel the joy that you get when you engage in the things you're naturally good at. These are gifts that God gave you. These gifts are signs along the path of your true path in life. You're supposed to be doing these things in abundance. You're supposed to be doing what brings you joy in abundance. That's what it's really all about. You don't have to suffer. You can do what you love, and I guarantee you the money will follow. It always has. It always will. Now, sometimes it may not look like it's there, but that's okay, because the support is going to be there, and it's just a matter of which form it's going to take, but you'll always be supported by the universe in doing what you love. Always. Now, I want you to feel the sense of connecting with everybody in the world. There's no such thing as separation. That's an imaginary condition. Physics will tell you that we're all connected. Feel the sense of being in connection with every human soul on the planet. This is exercise. This is work that you're doing. This is good inner work. You're connecting with every single soul on the planet, and you're serving them just by being who you are, this invaluable self that you are. You're here to fulfill a purpose. Just being you fulfills that purpose. And I want you to feel the sense of connecting in a harmonious, unconditionally loving way with every single human being on the planet, so that you're beyond getting upset and getting frustrated and being judgmental. There's just this solid base of feeling this unconditional love for all beings. And I want you to feel like everybody feels that love coming from you and responds in kind, that everybody loves you at the soul level. Now feel that shifting into one of the forms of God's love, which is infinite abundance. I want you to feel the feeling of being as rich as you want to feel. Right? As rich as you want to feel. You want to feel free. You don't want to feel limited by any kind of financial pressures or concerns whatsoever. So drop them. Give yourself the feeling of being totally unlimited wealth, total unlimited abundance. And it's not just abundance of money, because an abundance of money won't do you any good if you don't have power, the power to pick it up, the power to use it properly, right? So feel unlimited abundance of power, unlimited abundance of joy, unlimited abundance of opportunity, unlimited abundance for loving relationships, unlimited abundance for expressing your talents and gifts at the very highest level, like a Michelangelo or a Da Vinci or a Raphael or a Mozart. Feel the sense of unlimited abundance. Relax, finally. It's not about how much money you have that makes you feel no concern about money. It's the feeling of no concern about money that will always show you that you always have all you need. If there's something that you want and it doesn't feel prudent to buy it, let it go. You don't need it. You don't need to buy stuff and have stuff to be completely fulfilled, to be completely free, to live a simple, beautiful, balanced, harmonious life of infinite meaning. You're always provided for. Give yourself that feeling. And finally, let it all go now. Because everything is just a dress rehearsal for letting it all go so we can go into that heavenly existence now. Feel the sense of complete trust in the universe, in God, in yourself, that everything is being perfectly handled. You never have anything to worry about. All worry does is stir you up and create trauma where there's no need for it. Feel yourself surrendering to the loving arms of the divine, carried on a sea, an infinite sea of love and wisdom that is always taking care of you. Completely let go of control. Let go of attachment. However it comes, you're going to trust that everything's always going to be perfect. You can relax. You can enjoy life. You can entrust yourself to the divine. Feel that sense of complete surrender as you take a nice deep breath. When your lungs are filled, hold your breath for 3 seconds. And then when you exhale, feel a complete letting go of surrender and stay in this surrendered space. Okay. So I think it's good to end tonight's session on the method. So you're feeling your feelings. You're feeling the joy. Stay in this joy. Stay aware. Stay attentive. Because only you can take you out of the joy with a reaction or with a thought. Right? Let yourself be guided by your feelings, by the feeling of this joy and bliss and peace being within you. So you stay in it. And trust it. There are going to be times you're going to say, but Bob, I feel like I got to do something. I got to get active. Got to get busy. You're waiting. You're peacefully waiting. Like on the Kabbalah tree of life, path 4 to path 3 to 5. You're just peacefully waiting until you're guided, and you're trusting the peace and the harmony of your inner being as providing you with everything. This is God's presence. The harmony that's moving through you is doing all the work you need in life. So before we sign off, does anybody have anything they'd like to say or ask or comment? Anybody at all? From Janice to everyone, thank you. Thank you, Janice. From Rags to everyone, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Rags. Thank you. Thank you. Lisa, do you want to sign off now?
Yeah. Thank you guys. We will see you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Sue. All right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Bob.